The Denbighshire Hussars was a unit of the British Army from 1794 to 1921. It saw service in the First World War before being merged into a unit of the Royal Artillery. History, formation and early history. Formed as a volunteer cavalry unit in 1794 during the French Revolutionary Wars. In 1830 it was used to quell colliery workers in Rollin-a-Trugog. The colliery workers were angered by the truck shop system that forced them to spend the wages in shops owned by their employers. They planned to destroy a truck shop owned by the British Ironworks Company. The regiment was ordered out on patrol to terrify the mob. At an incident in Rollin-a-Trugog, known as the Battle of Cinder Hill, overzealous troops had to be brought under control after a demonstrator threw a firework at the soldiers. The regiment became the Denbighshire Hussars in 1876. It trained at Hightown Barracks in Wrexham for the Boer War and the two World Wars. Second Boer War. The yeomanry was not intended to serve overseas, but due to the string of defeats during Black Week in December 1899, the British government realized they were going to need more troops than just the regular army. A royal warrant was issued on the 24th of December 1899 to allow volunteer forces to serve in the Second Boer War. The royal warrant asked standing yeomanry regiments to provide service companies of approximately 115 men each for the Imperial Yeomanry. The regiment formed the 29th Company of the 9th Battalion in 1900. In 1911 the regiment had the honour of being the escort to the Prince of Wales to his investiture at Carnarvon Castle. First World War. In accordance with the Territorial and Reserve Forces Act 1907, which brought the Territorial Force into being, the TF was intended to be a home defence force for service during wartime, and members could not be compelled to serve outside the country. However, on the outbreak of war on the 4th of August 1914, many members volunteered for Imperial service. Therefore, TF units were split in August and September 1914 into first-line and second-line units. Later, a third line was formed to act as a reserve, providing trained replacements for the first and second-line regiments. 1/1 of a stone Denbighshire Hussars. The 1/1 of a stone Denbighshire Hussars was mobilised with the Welsh Border Mounted Brigade on the 4th of August 1914 at the outbreak of the First World War. It moved to East Anglia, where it joined the 1st Mounted Division in September 1914. In November 1915, the brigade was dismounted. The regiment was posted with the brigade to Egypt in March 1916. On the 20th of March, Welsh Border Mounted Brigade was absorbed into the 4th Dismounted Brigade. The brigade was with the Suez Canal defences when, on the 14th of January 1917, Egyptian Expeditionary Force Order No. 26 instructed that the 2nd, 3rd and 4th Dismounted Brigades be reorganized as the 229th, 230th and 231st Brigades. Between January and March 1917 the small yeomanry regiments were amalgamated and numbered as battalions of infantry regiments recruiting from the same districts. As a result, the 1/1 of a stone Denbighshire Hussars was converted to 24th Battalion, Royal Welsh Fusiliers in February 1917. On the 23rd of February, the general officer commanding the EEF, Lieutenant General Sir A. J. Murray, sought permission from the War Office to form the 229th, 230th and 231st Brigades into a new division. On the 25th of February, the War Office granted permission and the new 74th Division started to form. The 231st Brigade joined the division at El Arish by the 9th of March. It took part in the invasion of Palestine in 1917 and 1918, including the Second and Third Battles of Gaza, including the capture of Beersheba on the 31st of October and the Sharia position on the 6th of November. At the end of 1917, it took part in the capture and defense of Jerusalem and in March 1918 in the Battle of Tel Assur. On the 3rd of April 1918, the division was warned that it would move to France and by the 30th of April 1918 had completed embarkation at Alexandria. In May 1918, the battalion landed at Marseille, France with 74th Division. Due to a lack of replacements, British infantry divisions on the Western Front had been reduced from 12 to 9 battalions in January and February 1918. To conform with this new structure, on the 21st of June, 12th Battalion, Royal Scots Fusiliers, 12th Battalion, Norfolk Regiment and 24th RWF left the 74th Division. They were used to reconstitute 94th Brigade of 31st Division, which was renamed the 94th Brigade on the date. It remained with the 94th Brigade, 31st Division for the rest of the war, taking part in the latter part of the Battle of the Lys, the capture of Villers-Berquin and the final advance in Flanders. By the armistice of the 11th of November 1918, the battalion was in Belgium, moving from Averflim to Rennes. 2/1 of a stone Denbighshire Hussars. The Second Line Regiment was formed in 1914 and joined the 2/1 of a stone Welsh Border Mounted Brigade in the Newcastle area of Northumberland in January 1915. The brigade was placed under the command of the 63rd Division. On the 31st of March 1916, the remaining mounted brigades were ordered to be numbered in a single sequence and the brigade became 17th Mounted Brigade, still in Northumberland under Northern Command. In April 1916, it moved with its brigade to East Anglia where it joined the 1st Mounted Division. It replaced its first line which had departed for Egypt. By July it had left with its brigade for the Morpeth, Northumberland area. In July 1916 there was a major reorganization of second-line yeomanry units in the United Kingdom. All but 12 regiments were converted to cyclists and as a consequence the regiment was dismantled and the brigade converted to 10th Cyclist Brigade. Further reorganization in October and November 1916 saw the brigade redesignated as 6th Cyclist Brigade in November, still in the Morpeth area. At this time the regiment had departed for the 1st Cyclist Brigade at Beccles in Suffolk where it was amalgamated with the 2/1 of a stone Montgomeryshire Yeomanry as the 3rd Cyclist Battalion. The regiment resumed its separate identity as 2/1 of a stone Denbighshire Hussars in March 1917. It moved to Worlingham in July, to Aldborough in January 1918 and back to Worlingham in April. It was still in 1st Cyclist Brigade at the end of the war. 3/1 of a stone Denbighshire Hussars. The 3rd Line Regiment was formed in 1915 and in the summer it was affiliated to a reserve cavalry regiment at the Curragh. In the summer of 1916 it was dismantled and attached to the 3rd Line groups of the West Lancashire Division as its 1st line was serving as infantry. The regiment was disbanded early in 1917, with personnel transferring belonging to the 2nd Line Regiment to the 4th Battalion of the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, at Oswestry. Between the wars, post-war, a commission was set up to consider the shape of the territorial force. The experience of the First World War made it clear that cavalry was surfeit. The commission decided that only the 14 most senior regiments were to be retained as cavalry. 8 regiments were converted to armoured car companies of the Royal Tank Corps. 1 was reduced to a battery in another regiment. 1 was absorbed into a local infantry battalion. 1 became a signals regiment and 2 were disbanded. The remaining 25 regiments were converted to brigades of the Royal Field Artillery between 1920 and 1922. The Denbighshire Yeomanry were one of the regiments transferred to the Royal Artillery. It was re-rolled as a medium artillery formation, and amalgamated with the 61st Medium Brigade Royal Garrison Artillery, to form 61 Medium Regiment RA. Second World War. 61st Medium Regiment RA. 61st Medium Regiment saw service in France during the Phoney War. After the Dunkirk evacuation, it would remain in the United Kingdom until returning to Europe in June 1944 with 21st Army Group. 69th Medium Regiment RA. In 1939, 61st Medium Regiment formed a duplicate unit, 69th Medium Regiment RA, which in February 1942 was designated as 69th Medium Regiment RA. It also saw service with the BEF in 1940, before being sent to North Africa in 1942, where it took part in the Battle of El Alamein. It joined the 2nd Agra and took part in the Italian campaign from 1943 to 1945. It ended the war in northwest Europe with the Second Army. Post-war, in 1947 the regiment reformed as an artillery formation as 361st Medium Regiment. In 1956 this was merged with the 384th Light Regiment to become the 372nd Regiment. The regiment effectively ceased to exist in 1968, although it continued in name as a cadre until it was amalgamated in 1971 with the Welsh Volunteers to become the 3rd BN Royal Welsh Fusiliers, in which form its lineage was continued until 1999 as a unit of the Territorial Army. In 1969, cadre members formed part of the military route lining party for the investiture of the Prince of Wales at Carnarvon. On the 1st of April 2014, the unit became 398 Squadron, the Royal Logistic Corps, and took on a new primary role as drivers within the Welsh Transport Regiment. They have other secondary duties and can be trained as ammunition technicians, logistics specialists, logistic communications specialists, chefs, amongst 17 other trades open to all with the RLC. Battle Honours. The Denbighshire Yeomanry was awarded the following battle honours. Bibliography. GriffMJ F. Order of Battle of Divisions Part 2A. The Territorial Force Mounted Divisions and the First Line Territorial Force Divisions. London, His Majesty's Stationery Office. ISBN 187116712-4. GriffMJ F. Order of Battle of Divisions Part 2B. The Second Line Territorial Force Divisions with the Home Service Divisions and 74th and 75th Divisions. London, His Majesty's Stationery Office. ISBN 18711670000. GriffMJ F. Order of Battle of Divisions Part 3B. New Army Divisions and AMP. 63rd Division. London, His Majesty's Stationery Office. ISBN 187116708-6. Frederick J. B.M. Lineage Book of British Land Force 1660 to 1978. Wakefield, Yorkshire. Microform Academic Publishers. ISBN 1-85117-009-X. Haythornthwaite, Philip J. The World War I Source Book. London, Arms and Armour Press. ISBN 1-85409-3517. James Brigadier. British Regiments 1914–18. London, Samson Books Limited. ISBN 0-906304-032. Milam, Patrick. The Yeomanry Regiments, 200 Years of Tradition. Edinburgh, Canongate Academic. ISBN 1898410364. Rinaldi, Richard A. Order of Battle of the British Army 1914. Ravi Rikai. ISBN 9780977607280.